Hey guys, it's Kay from KS Anonymous, and I am back today with another episode of r/Tales from Retail. This idiot bought a bag of 2-year-old popcorn. This just happened today. I work in a candy store with a popcorn section. The store opened at 9 a.m. I wasn't scheduled until 11 a.m. It took me until 3:30 p.m. to even realize this. I was ringing out a woman and she asked me about our popcorn sizes. It went as follows: W is woman, M is me. Hello ma'am, what can I do for you today? I want some cheddar cheese popcorn. Okay, no problem. What size? What are your sizes? I point to the shelf above me with our displayed sized popcorn bags. Well, we have the large bag only for butter for $3. We have the large flavored for $6.95. And we I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm a little caught off guard. We did have a display bag for our regular size. She laughs at my confusion and we finish the transaction. 2 minutes later, my boss walks by and I call him. Hey, tell me. I point to the display shelf. Did someone really come in and steal our display bag? I can't hold my laughter. I have never seen him look so confused as he sees the bag missing and just keeps saying, "That is nasty. That bag is 2 years old." I'm practically on the floor laughing at this point, and I tell everybody. Not long after, I tell my coworker who works in the front and has been there since opening. Oh my god, that is Wait, was it cheddar cheese popcorn in that bag? Yeah. Oh my god, I sold it to him! So here's apparently what happened. Some guy came into our popcorn section, and instead of asking for help, he decided to grab our display bag that I guess he assumed was fresh, even though it was cold and has the price written on it in faded Sharpie. Then went to my coworker and handed her the bag facing the other way so she didn't see the writing and paid $4 for it. I have been laughing since this happened, and I am waiting for this guy to call our store and complain about his stale, expired, cheddar 2-year-old popcorn. I feel like he's not going to, just because he's probably gonna realize, like, with heavy amounts of shame that he should have asked, and he's just gonna be like, yeah, that one's on me. I paid $4 for nasty 2-year-old popcorn. Oh my god. Changing room fiasco. A couple of years ago, the supermarket where I work for the clothing department was severely understaffed, and I ended up doing overtime in the petrol station attached to the shop. I had finished my shift and walked over to the main building to clock out when a colleague stopped me and asked if I was supposed to have been on clothing that evening, as they had had an incident. I told them I was just there for petrol. I work with a lovely woman who is always harried. You know the sort. Always rushing from one job to the other as she feels everything needs doing yesterday. She technically works for the checkouts, but had been asked to cover the changing room since there were no members of clothing at work that evening. We aren't allowed to leave the changing room unmanned. She stood in the changing room when an announcement goes out. "Can all TILD training staff head to the checkouts, please?" So she diligently locks up the changing room and heads to the tills. 40 minutes later, a woman comes up to customer service, laughing her head off. She had left her husband in the changing room while she had gone to get him a different pair of jeans, as the ones he had originally tried didn't fit him. When she came back, the changing room was locked, so she assumed he had come out and gone looking for her, so she just went off to do the food shop. She thought he would probably catch up with her at some point. He didn't catch up with her, and when she checked her mobile to see if he'd messaged her, she had had missed calls from him. Turns out he had been locked in the changing room the whole time. When my colleague went to open the changing room door, there wasn't just him, but another 2 women in there as well. The irony is that there's a bar at the bottom of the very flimsy door that if you pull it up, you can shove the lock of the door apart, but bless them, no one had thought to try it. Luckily, the customers saw the funny side, especially the man's wife, and now everyone is trained to check the changing rooms before leaving them and locking up. I don't know, I would find it funny for like the first 5 minutes. 40 minutes? Oh, I would be like freaking out, just because like the idea that like someone has locked us in here and has walked away and we can't get out like that. Not my deal. But for some reason this reminds me, okay, so like I feel like they could have called the company me if they had like data to look up the company number. And that thought led me to another one where I was just remembering how on at least 2 separate occasions we've had employees at the restaurant I used to work at call the restaurant phone number, and we would answer, and they'd be like, "Hey, it's so-and-so. I'm stuck in the bathroom stall and there's no toilet paper." And then it's just like, oh, I don't know. It makes me happy. I don't know why. It cracks me up. I can't do that, ma'am. Thank you to the 2-year-old popcorn post for reminding me of this. Some backstory, I was the assistant manager in a deli, and we sold different salads. We had half-pound, 1-pound, and 2-pound clear containers to put the salad in for customers. We had one of each filled with colored popcorn on our case, with the sizes labeled on them for customers to see to help with their decisions. They had been there for a long time. During this particular time, the manufacturer was having difficulties with production, and the half-pound containers were unavailable. On to the story. A lady walks up and asks for a half-pound of salad. I begin to grab one of the 1-pound containers and fill it about halfway when she says that she only wanted half. I explain that that's what I'm doing because the small containers are unavailable. She then says that she doesn't want that big of a container for how much she wants and is getting fairly angry. She then says, "Why don't you use that one?" while pointing at the display. I tell her I can't use that, it is just a display, it is not clean, and has been there for at least a few years. At this point, she almost yells at me, telling me to use that container. I then tell her that I am not going to use that, and if she wants the product, I will use the larger container that we have. She then admits defeat and agrees. Some people are just stupid. I feel like we need just a general public training for like all of humanity to understand that the things on display, you might just really not want that because it's there for display reasons. It's probably not good for you anymore. It's probably old, inedible, dirty, nasty. It's probably been sitting there for like 500 years. Okay, guys, let's just put this PSA out to everyone so we can stop having these moments. That would be great. A flood is not a good enough excuse. A couple of weeks back, the grocery store I worked at partially flooded due to torrential rain. It came in like a waterfall through the ceiling oven vents in the deli and started seeping in from the floor drains and under the doors. 4 inches of water at its deepest in the deli, part of the tills, the bakery, and halfway down several aisles. As we were pushing buckets worth of water out of the fire door next to the deli with those very large squeegee things, a man approached the door from the outside of the building and stood right in the middle of the doorway. My manager immediately told him to move out of the way, which he fully ignored and instead just shouted, "Where are your Wheaties?" at us. Manager just says that he doesn't know and to get out of the way and go ask someone else. "Well, you don't have to be so rude." And just stands off to the side of the door with his head poking in, glaring at us and seemingly getting annoyed that his pants were now wet because he was dumb enough to stand right in the middle of a flood cleanup. Highlights. Customer looks in the deli with 4 inches of water in and around it and only employees sucking up water with shop vacs. "Can I get a salad?" "Sorry, deli is closed right now." "Why?" "Is that water?" No, the entire NFL came and peed on the floor. Me standing in a flooded part of the store with water soaking through my shoes behind a makeshift wall of mop buckets and shop vacs. "Sorry, this section is closed right now." The customer clambers over the barrier and gets their clothes all wet. "I'll just be a sec. I want to look at what hummus you have." What? Oh god. People are crazy, man. The man wants his Wheaties and this woman wants her hummus, and who cares if the store is flooded? But they're both the same brand. So, for far too long, I worked retail, and for most of it, I sold electronics. Back then, electronics in a brick-and-mortar store was much more competitive than it is now. Price matching was serious business, and a lot of people shopped around for the best possible price, even if that discount cost them more in gas for driving around store to store. Our price match policy was better than most, if a bit more strict about the requirements because we gave an extra 10% of the difference off the purchase. Honestly, the same TV was the same price just about everywhere, and the biggest price difference was usually around $50 for a $1,000 plus TV. If there was a significant difference, it was because they were different TVs. Enter our customer. She and her friend had an ad from Wally World down the street. Not sure if it's changed in recent years, but they never carried the higher-end TVs. Being who they are, they usually stuck to carrying bargain TVs, and their high-end stuff was mid-range for most other stores. Something I and all my coworkers in the department knew. The customer didn't ask for any help until she was ready to buy. She looked at each TV on our wall, one by one, and comparing each picture of a certain brand. Finally, she called for help, and I answered the call. She had decided on a pretty decent TV. Pretty sure it was the one I always recommended as best bang for the buck if you wanted something of real quality, but didn't need to spend an ungodly amount to have the latest and greatest. I checked stock and gave her the total, and that was when she pulled out the ad with such a happy and smug look on her face and proclaimed that she was price matching for a few $100s less than what we had it. In my head, I already knew she was wrong. There was never such a big difference on the same TV. There just wasn't enough margin in electronics for such a thing. I asked for the ad and immediately see it's a different TV. It was a lower resolution and even lacked smart features for streaming, which was still relatively new back then on TVs. I inform her that this is not the same TV.
But it's the same brand.
But a different model.
But it's the same size.
But worse features.
But they're both brand.
She couldn't get it. Her friend wasn't any help. Finally, I tried my go-to comparison when people just didn't get technology. Cars. People usually understand the basics of cars, even if they don't get the basics of built-in Wi-Fi on TVs or screen resolution. Would you expect a Focus or a Mustang to cost the same just because they're both Ford? Her friend got it. The customer buying the TV thought it was complete and exceptionally stinky BS. She refused to believe the same brand TV could come in differently priced versions. I was kind of dumbfounded by it all. In the end, her friend convinced her to go buy the other one. We had the TV in the ad, but frankly, it wasn't worth dealing with her. I was happy to see them go and thankful her friend was there, or else the customer would have probably fought with management over it. Yeah, people do that a lot. It's so weird, but it's not exactly the same. If it was exactly, do you understand the concept of price matching? I mean, I know she wanted a bargain, but No, miss. You can't return a used lottery ticket. So I'm sitting on my lunch break and thought I'd share this gem that just happened. So since Miss Rona came to town, I've been forced back into the world of retail. It's been okay so far with the usual BS to deal with until today. An old lady comes in and says,
"I need to return this,"
and throws 2 used scratch cards onto my counter. Confused, I scan them to check if they're winners, which they're not. I say, "Sorry, you didn't win anything this time." To which I get a look of pure disdain.
"Yeah, I know. That is why I want to return them."
Yeah, no, that's not how scratch cards work. You can't return unused ones, let alone used ones. She proceeds to kick off, says she's returned them before, and the usual,
"Get the manager now!"
Manager comes and spends 20 minutes explaining that no, she cannot in fact return used scratch cards, and that she never has done such a thing in our shop, where she finally admits defeat and storms off. Without her scratch cards. The world of retail never ceases to amaze me. I'm starting to wonder if all the unreasonableness of people has just congregated online, and so you know how people get into crazy stuff online? Maybe it's just all concentrated where people in retail they just see it all the time, it comes out and reveals itself, but when people are behind the screen they just let it flow. I don't just random theory there. Anyway, that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and drop a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Really quickly, I'd like to thank my patrons. Up on the screen, you should see my face palmers and my crazy case. Thank you all so much for supporting me in that way. If you're interested in becoming a patron, checking out the original posts from today's video, or sending me an email for possible inclusion in a future video, all of that information is in the description box, so be sure to check it out. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!